What's the guy's name back? I want Daryl. Thank you. Why isn't this printing? Look alive.
Now they are.
Yeah.
When is it?
It's in,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome
that's what I thought.
to the regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is August 20th, 2019. The time is 9:05. Are there any additions to the agenda?
16.
No, Mr. Chairman, no additions to the agenda.
All right. County Council, will you please read
24 through.
into record the items on closed session?
Yes, Chairman and members of the board, good morning. There are 3 items for your discussion in closed session. The first is a conference with your labor negotiator, Michelle May, under Government Code Section 54957.6. Employee organization is all units. You have conference with me under anticipated litigation. There's one case where there is significant exposure. And the last item is under Government Code Section 54957. You'll discuss the appointment and employment of your veteran service officer. Thank you.
All right. Is there any public comment on any items on closed session? Seeing none, I'll call closed to public comment, and we will not adjourn, retire to the closed session.
There you go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back out of closed session to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. Time is 10 o'clock. County Council, is there any reportable action out of closed session?
No, Chairman, there is no reportable action from today's closed session.
And we're going to open and close in memory of, Bobby, do you have any? I didn't
Yeah.
see any.
I have actually 3 this time. The older we get, the more they pass away, it seems like. Okay, first one is, we called him Bicycle Bob Ashton. He passed away about a week and a half ago, and very active with everything up there and around Bass Lake especially. They have little Bass Lake board meetings. They invite me to them once in a while, and he was always like the life of the party. So, and Allie Benbrook, her and her husband Mike moved to Oakhurst about 5 years ago and started Oakhurst Whiskey. This store, they make whiskey up there, and she was a great artist. She's had stage 4 cancer. Only supposed to live about a year. She did a little over 2 years, so she fought it hard. And a beautiful lady. And then this is just a good friend of mine. Lives in Clovis, Chuck Cook. His son played professional baseball. He played, I think, for the Dodgers or the Angels, and now he's playing in Japan. But he had a massive heart attack, only 59 years old, hard-working guy, and passed away last week. So, hard week. So, thank you.
And I wanted to do one for Ruth Upton, or Ruthie, as a lot of you may have known her. She passed away on August 15th, graduated from Madera High in 1971. I wanted to read this. I thought this was great, just kind of explaining who she was. Ruthie enjoyed the beach, camping in the mountains, road trips, finding treasures, taking care of business, jumping on the bed, and dancing in the kitchen. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I grew up with her daughter and Julie Slayton, who lives out in the ranchos, and her son Jared Upton, and just thoughts and prayers go out to their family during this time of loss. And Ruthie, you'll be missed. Is there any others? All right. Then we'll have our invocation with Pastor Lance Leach. And Anthony, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yep.
Awesome. Thank you this morning. Let's bow our heads as we open in prayer. Father God, first of all, we come to you and we thank you gloriously for this beautiful county that we live in. We thank you for the mountains and the trees and the valley and the agriculture and everything that you've blessed us with. We're so wonderfully blessed, and we thank you for that. God, we pray that you would allow our law enforcement and those that provide care, our firemen who protect us, that they would continue to keep this land safe that we live in. We pray for the first responders and those that work in the medical profession as they continue to care for those of this county and continue to encourage them in their lives and their health and strength. And so bless them with the ability to continue to do that well. In this season, God, we thank you for our educators. We ask that not only you bless them with a great year and preparedness for our kids, the most valuable resources that we have here in Madera County. We pray, God, that they would be protected as well. Every school campus, every high school, every junior high, every middle school, every elementary school, Father God, would be taken care of and protected by your glorious hand. We thank you for the protection that you've granted us here in Madera County and ask that would continue for our schools. Finally, God, we thank you for these men and the districts that they represent. We pray for all those that stand around them and support them. God, we pray that they are able to bring forth the gold in our community, all the passions and all the excitement that's within each person in their districts that represent this county. We pray that they are able to help enable them to be all that they can be and do all that they're supposed to do for this community. And we just ask your continued guidance for us, wisdom, and thank you again for all that we've been blessed with. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Item 4, public comment.
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for the members of the public to address the board on any matter under jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record.
Hi, my name is Ron Montoya, Madera County. Just want to get straight to the point. I come here on behalf of my neighbors. Mr. Poitras, I'm looking you straight in the eye, and you've hurt my neighbors fiscally, emotionally, and you've caused them to lose their homes due to the CFD tax you implemented back in 2007. It's sad that you're so cavalier about these decisions to job our community. My neighbor who lost his home, who now lives in Fresno, was a proud IFC member, attended the Catholic Church. You came into our home and your response was, hey, at least you can write it off. But you know what? Your policies that you implemented hurt my community. Your platform of jobs, not taxes, was a filthy lie. I went to Newman, I went to Santanella, I went to Gustin, I went to South Dos Palos, I went to Merced, I went to Los Baños. Every person I spoke with, I exposed the hypocrisy of your platform. And that's why I'm here.
Slow it down a little bit, sir.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wheeler. It's frustrating because this is straight from the diaphragm. This is straight from the heart. This is not scripted. This is all impromptu. I've sent you guys emails. I've sent you guys the hypocrisy. Those policies hurt my neighbors, your community. Max Rodriguez, your community. And we still give this city $20,000 to $24,000 a month, and it's trickling into the general fund, and no one knows anything about it. On top of that, Dave Tooley was getting paid $355,000 a year. Dave Merchant is no longer here. The city attorney is no longer here. The outrageous salaries, the city of Bell is replicated in Madera. And that's not fair. This is why I'm here. The grand jury reported that there was a lot of bullying. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. People look at me, and yeah, they turn the opposite way because I speak up and ask questions. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions. It's sad, Mr. Poitras. Your platform of jobs is not taxes is not accurate because I'm living proof. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Deborah Martinez, Director of Social Services. I'm here because we had a little bit of a mix-up last time, and it was our fault. And we are bringing forward today the honorees for our second quarter Chairman's Culture of Excellence Award winners for Health and Human Services. So I'd like you to have the opportunity to meet Veronica Plitas, who is actually the person who recommended the team that will be introduced by her. Okay?
Good morning. My name is Veronica Pleites. I am a supervisor with Madera County Department of Social Services. I would like to highlight the work of these ladies. They made a difference for a youth who was struggling that particular day. It was her birthday. Her family didn't show up for their visit. So the child, of course, it is a special day for her, and she felt undermined. So these ladies put together a mini party for her. They put a cake together, they put a bag of goodies, and they made that day and that moment special for that child to go back to the foster home with joy. So the ladies here are Lucia Cortez, Anita Tijero, Andrea Martinez, Javon Blurton, Angelica Altamirano, Judith Prince, and Quinn Shetler.
Yeah, and we're going to come down and present you with the plaques. And when I read this story, I just want to tell you how much it touched me. And these are the acts of kindness that really exemplify this culture of excellence. You know, you didn't have to do that. but what that meant to that child could have lasting impacts on the rest of her life. And when we talk about creating a place, professionalism and was loyalty to that child, accountability, even when someone else couldn't be kept accountable to their own child, you took that accountability on yourself. Compassion, I mean, it is the definition of the word. When you care about somebody that much, you go beyond just doing a job. You're actually changing lives for people. And the last, excellence, it's proof of what you're doing and what you do for our community. And I know that this was one instance, but I guarantee it's not the only time that you have operated in this manner, and I just appreciate it.
You want to go ahead and face the wall? You go against the bar right there. Perfect. Veronica, you're in. Danny, Terrence. All and Dave. And these are all our social worker support. These are our office assistants, our vocational assistants, so we're honoring the entire team by having them here. Awesome.
Oh, there it is. Andrea Martinez. Congratulations, thank you. Angelica Altamirano. Anita Tijero. Javon Blurton. Thank you. Judy Prinz. Lucia Cortez Salgado. Quinn Schlatter, and Veronica Pleites. Oh, did I do well?
Oh, you're perfect. You're perfect. And just a coffee on me for all your great work. It's very much appreciated. Love
Squeeze up, girls.
Yes, my name is Cindy Ratzlaff, and I own a commercial building in Oakhurst that has a restaurant and a laundromat in it. For 9 years, I was a laundromat owner, and I sold it last July 1st, 2018. And in September, the person decided they no longer wanted it, and they were just not going to pay anymore. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because of the way the sewer units are built. So I, as a landowner, get billed monthly for their sewer. Well, when they don't pay, that means I owe the money. So there's enough to deal with as a landowner, because now I have to deal with no rent and waiting to see what's going to happen with the business. So I took steps to work with that person, and I resold it for them January 15th. But in the meantime, I owe money for sewer because they basically didn't want the business anymore. And so I will be called up later on because I'm on your list for owing. But my suggestion is, with certain sizes of businesses, because we have so many sewer units, that it impacts us a lot, because his bill's over $800 a month just for that. If you could bill directly, that would help us as landowners amazingly, because we have enough to deal with. So that is one of my suggestions, that you do that. Of course, a bigger suggestion would be if you could put meters in. I know it's a big thing, and a lot of communities, small communities have done it, but we know, because we've been here before, and we've proven how much water that business purchases versus how much goes out. And it's so far off. So they're getting billed twice of what they're really using, because we know how much water per gallon. So I'm not here to dispute that, but if you could consider putting meters in, maybe certain size businesses, or billing them directly so that the landowner doesn't have to do your work for you.
When you say bill directly, what do you mean exactly?
Well, I get billed as a landowner for his sewer, and I have to bill him every month.
Oh, instead of the
But
new
he
owner?
doesn't pay me.
You mean the new owner?
It doesn't matter who's in there.
No, but I mean, the new
Yes.
owner.
I billed a new owner, he paid for 3 months, he stopped paying rent, he
So
stopped paying
did you
sewer.
put it in his name when you sold it to him?
Well, the business goes under his name, but the sewer never goes under his name. It always gets billed to the landowner. So that's what I want changed.
You just sold the business.
You sold the business on
The business, yeah, I own the building, and so all the bills come from the county to me. So I have to separate it out, and I
That's the way
bill.
it has to be, though.
yeah.
You're the landowner.
But for a leasehold, there should be some way to.
There should be some way where the county can
To
bill.
bill a leasehold. I know on.
Yeah, why don't we have our staff work with her? She's come here before, when they first had that, we were billing them almost a big amount for each sewer hookup. And then they proved how much water was coming in there and how much was going out in the sewer, that they were really overcharged. So we adjusted all those, like hotels, they don't get a full unit for every room. It's 6/10 or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we did with the sewer, so.
Right,
But
but now
that-
I'd like the bill to be, a suggestion of a different way, so you can bill the people that it
So
really.
we got to work with our staff to do ordinances changing like that. But Ahmad right there and Andrea, if you'll talk to them, Cindy.
Okay, well, that's my suggestion this morning, and you will be calling me back up for the bill unless we
Yeah.
can take,
No, we don't put names out on that, so.
no, I mean, in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Because
you-
I'm on.
You see what I mean? Okay, thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
I just had a couple real quick. I know I announced it last week, Cameron Health opened up their new walk-in office up there in Oakhurst. It's open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's open every day of the week now, but they added these days from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I just want to thank them again, how important that is, because we didn't have nothing up there for our people, so. And then I have a town hall this Thursday at Bass Lake. And then last week, when we was at the ranchos, a bunch of people came and talked to us about a tower that's going in out there on, Road 38 and 17, I guess it is. I drove out there the other day just to look at it, and I have no problem where it's at. Absolutely not. I just want you guys to know I looked at it, and I don't know what the big complaint is really, personally, so I went and looked at it, so I don't want them people to think we don't do our homework, so.
Thank you for your due diligence. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll call a close to the public comment. Item 5, consent calendar. Is there any questions on the consent calendar from any?
Just a couple. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Item F, in the backup, it's pointing pointers to the San Joaquin Valley Regional Policy Council, which is great. But it says one large city and a small city, and a supervisor from each county. Does that mean Madera City and Chowchilla both have those on there? Okay, that's all I know on that. And,
That works well in our county versus.
yeah, I know, that's what I was wondering,
No one
how
has to
they,
jockey for
like
position.
Fresno, how they would do it, you know, because they got, what, 17
Yeah.
cities, so. Yeah. Well, Rob does a great job on that. I just want everybody to know, so.
Yeah, he does.
And item G, the Community Economic Development Department, that hiring that company, Interwest Consulting Group to do our permits and all that good stuff. Got them all here. The physical impact, it says, cost shall be offset by increased collections in the permit issuance. Does that mean we're going to raise our fees for this, or are the developers paying for this?
Deborah Mahler, Community Economic Development Deputy Director. No, what we do is Interwest will bill directly to the developer. So when we do plan checks, so this is how we keep our numbers low in regards to our turnaround. We have on-call pretty much services. So what Interwest does, will directly bill when they do a plan check for those developers.
Okay. The fourth bullet point down says 150% of the expedited plan revenue of the identified fees. Now, does that mean that they're going to charge more than what we actually have on our fee chart?
Well, we do not have an expedited plan review service for in-house. So sometimes if a developer would like it done a little bit sooner, they do pay for those expedited services.
Oh, so that'd be 100, okay.
Yeah.
And then the next 11 says they're using their hourly fee schedule. Will that still fall into those, $60 to $125 an hour? Does that fall in our realm, or is that just totally up to them, between them and the developer?
That is Interwest's fee schedule, so it is not our
But
adopted fee
that's what they
schedule.
would charge developers, they wouldn't charge us that.
They charge the developer that directly.
Okay.
Correct.
And so when we see not to exceed 600,000, why is that? I mean, that's nothing coming out of our budget.
If I can, Supervisor, Deborah is correct in the plan check when we have an individual, so we see a lot in the tract homes where
Right.
they drop 15 master plan checks and they want expedited, we send those out, we bill directly them from the Interwest. What this covers is also the inspections. The big item on this is our building inspections. So they actually staff, and we have them, they report to our office at 7:30 a.m. every morning. Two right now, building inspectors that come and we send out. So those are billed directly to us, and we pay those directly. Those don't go to, any builder or a construction, right? Because they're doing anything from water heater inspections, right, to frame and
solar
shear.
or something.
So it's the contract with the county. We pay that invoice. So these are their rates that they charge us.
This is
Those
over
are
and
not
above our
go-
own inspectors.
Say again?
This is over and above our own inspectors.
Correct, so they backfill because
Things we
we've
can't
had
do.
such a boom. And so the language in the board letter that speaks to the fiscal not being an impact to the general fund is based on the increased building activity that we see out there. And
They
so
pay
to
it
keep
that
up
way,
with
right.
that, we are doing recruitments. Deb's doing recruitments for building inspectors. The goal ultimately is to see that, but this provides us that flexibility to backfill so that when we get 100 inspection requests in a
Right.
day,
We can
we've
get
got
them covered.
the ability to draw on Interwest and give them 10, 15, 20 each, those inspectors to
Oh,
go out there
great.
and do those inspections.
Okay.
And I understand it's a very shallow market for inspecters, correct?
Correct. We do not have a large pool of resources available.
Yeah. And this has always been, in my opinion, is, it's great that we have a boom right now, but if
we
something
hire
were
all
to
the
happen
people
and we
and
hire
drop.
on all the people now, we have to get rid of them when the
Yeah.
boom is gone. So as a way to, we have enough to cover what the county would do naturally, and then for the increase would be farmed out, especially since there is a shallow job or pool to draw from, then if, once the permits and plan checks go down, we're not laying anybody off.
Right.
We're just not renewing a contract.
Back to regular
It's not easier,
routine
yeah.
work, yeah. And I really, that's the only way to do it, to save everybody money on this, so thank you very much. Item N, the sheriffs. The board letter says 30,000 and the request is for 35,000. Just need to get that correct.
In?
Bill Ward, Commander with the Sheriff's
How you
Office.
doing,
It's
man?
35,000. I thought they corrected it before the
board?
meeting, apparently not.
Yeah.
Where is it, where?
It's our board letter and everything, all this says 30,000, but
No, it
in the
says I-
backup, it says 30,000.
It's got 35,000.
Yeah, but in the backup, it don't say that.
I think it should have been, I think it's
Don't-
correct.
Yeah, it should have been corrected. It is 35,000.
Mr. Chairman, on the actual receipt of unanticipated revenue, it does say 35,000, and that's the key document there.
Well, I just want it corrected in the backup so that people read that, they don't, is on the second paragraph, discussion, backup, physical impact, second paragraph, the sheriff is requesting that your board approve the tax receipt of unanticipated revenue in amount of $30,000. I just need that corrected.
Yes.
Okay?
Anything else?
And when we make the motion, we should correct that. Item P, the sheriff corner again, I don't quite understand it. We have a 5-year contract that we signed with them, marked up 43 Incorporated. And now you're going to redo it to add these new 2 things, I forgot what they're called, for $40,000 and reduce the 5-year to 4-year contract. And we pay I seen in it, we pay $109,444 per year. In the second year, we're not paying, it says in there or something. It's really, it gobbled my mind up trying to read that last night. So if we got a 5-year, 4-year, are we paying 109 only 4 years, or?
So we've already been working with them for about a year.
Right.
So
a year.
we're changing it to 4 years now. And then the extra costs were anticipated, and there were a couple of add-ons that we needed.
Yeah, we had 2 more
Yeah,
things on,
correct.
yeah. So that will, is that, the contract's gonna be the same, or we're adding this 40,000 to cover those add-ons?
No, we're adding that.
Okay, so then we're not paying that, for that 5th year, we're not paying that 109,000 then? That we're eliminating the 5th year?
Yeah, we're changing it to 4 years because we've already been working with them for 1 year.
Oh, I see
So
what
we're
you
going
mean.
an additional
okay.
4 years.
So there's 4 more years left on the contract?
Correct.
And we'll still be paying 109,000? Okay. I got it, I think. I was gonna do R, but I got it explained to me by Ahmad earlier, and, 'cause we did a 218 vote, we're done.
Thank you.
Item R, thank you, Bill. We done a 218 vote last year, and I was wondering how come they needed $7,000 more. I guess they had a big pump blowout or something, so they had to cover that. But they're still in debt, and we did a 218. I don't know, I think we got to direct staff we got to start building up a little reserve in these people's accounts.
Yeah, I think the reserves build up over time, and I think it's like any time in your home that you're building up or trying to build up a reserve,
Yeah.
tires go out and.
No, blows out.
Blows out, and like, something happens, and you
Yeah.
have to kind of backfill that, and then, but you still have the plan to get out of that. Is that an accurate?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Supervisors. Ahmad Al-Qiyad, Public Works Director. Actually, that's the case, Supervisor. From the reserve that will be built with this new rate increase we had last November, it will pay for this transfer of funds.
I think.
So the existing debt plus the $6,000.
Right. And their plan will be, they'll be paid off in 3 or 4 years, so that's their new thing. So thank you.
All right. Is there any public comment regarding the consent calendar? See none, I'll call close.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I wanted to let you know that staff notified me that a sheriff's office did notify us this morning of the correction in the backup. That correction has been made and is on the website, so the correction's already been made on
Oh,
item N.
okay, so we don't have to put it in a motion. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for that clarification. Is there a motion?
I move for approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
And for the record, it was Supervisor Wheeler that made the second. Public hearings. Are we there yet? It is
Right,
10:30 exactly,
perfect.
right on time.
Isn't that where you planned it?
Yeah, that's the way I planned it.
I thought so.
Don't you like the 10:30?
Yeah.
We don't have to wait. All right, 6A.
6A, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, Ordinance Zoning Text Change. 1, discussion and consideration of approving an exemption of the project pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. 2, second hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance for zoning text change, amending Madera County Code Title 18.67 to include revisions, Planned Development District, to clarify the procedures and add consistency to the processing of the permit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber, Planning Director. Here with me is also Jamie Bax, Deputy, and Becky Beavers. This item is in essence, a cleanup of our zoning ordinance, a section in that. And I'm trying to stretch the clock here and talk while the computer loads up for our brief
okay.
PowerPoint presentation that Becky has. However, it appears we've got a spinning wheel. So with that, Becky, you want to maybe just go through that? And if the PowerPoint does come up, we can bring it up at that point.
At least we have our copy of them.
All right, I think we're getting it now. Sorry about that.
I can only guarantee that I can start them right at 10:30. You know, computers.
Here comes the IT guy, he'll make it work.
Are we ready, Becky?
Well, it's still spinning. Let's go ahead with the side. We'll catch up with it. We're proposing to amend.
Move this microphone close to you, Becky.
We're proposing to amend Chapter 18.67. That's the Planned Development District ordinance to clarify the procedures and add consistency to the process of permit requirements. When an application is submitted for a rezoning, the proposed land use must be consistent with the general plan designation of the parcel.
There it is.
A conditional use permit is required with the rezoning application to define the unique design criteria for the development. If the design and the proposed uses change, then a conditional use permit will be needed to amend, and will needed to be amended. The specific site plan and the use or a list of uses must be specified for evaluation of the impacts. The specific requirements for a time extension and modification have been removed from the existing ordinance, and just a reference to Chapter 18.92 has been inserted. That's where the time extension regulations are currently, and by just referencing it, then we have more consistency than we do now. Uses were, the Planning Commission was concerned that the people that have been approved through the existing procedure would have to go back and get a conditional use permit. So we inserted this as at their request, just specifying that the uses that were established and approved in the PDD zone district prior to the effective date of the 2019 ordinance are not subject to the conditional use permit requirements enacted in this ordinance.
I think that's very, very important.
I think so too. And with that, the Planning Commission recommended approval with a 4-0-1 vote. They recommended approval to the Board of Supervisors for the rezoning text change, amending the Madera County Code Title 18.67 to include the revisions of the plan development to clarify the procedures and add consistency to the processing of a permit, and to approve an exemption of the project pursuant to Section 150613.B.3 of the California Environment Quality Guidelines.
And just to clarify a little bit more, and Becky touched on it, but this was really, we took an opportunity and reviewed our zoning ordinance. There was some discrepancies within the planned development districts where we had references to site plan review, which isn't in our fee structure or our fee schedule. So this is simply a cleanup and clarifying and tying it more closely to our conditional use permit process. Planned development's a very interesting zone district in that it doesn't allow any use by right, but it allows the flexibility for the developer or the property owner to come in with a very specific project where they can set their own standards for setbacks, height requirements, and all of those things in that CUP application. That's why we need all the details on that site plan that they would submit for the processing. So it allows a great deal of flexibility, but it also protects the neighborhood surrounding this potential use because they know exactly, okay, here's where all those buildings are going and the requirements for those, and any change in that has to follow the amendment procedures already set out in code for that. So that concludes our presentation. We're available for any questions.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. So what that does is, say Tim Jones out there at Riverstone, if they want to have a 5-foot setback on their properties and our requirements are 30 feet or 10 feet or what it might be, this overrides that, but it also is in their CCNR so that if anybody buys that, they know that that setback is what it is. It's not, it's their own division of their requirements, not the county's.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not necessarily would be in the CCNRs, but for example, I will give the Dollar General in Coarsegold is on a planned development district zone parcel. And so when they did that, they brought in a CUP and a rezone and said, here's what we're building, here's the footprint of that building, where it's going to go, here's the parking, because it allows them to deviate from parking requirements as well from what's adopted in the ordinance. So they lay it all out there. Now, if they increase that building size, 200 square foot, then there's an amendment process, a public hearing to do that. Right, so it's, if someone's buying a piece of property, they have the conditions of approval and that site plan, and that's what they're mandated to do. So it's, where CCNRs is typically a civil issue, which the county wouldn't become involved in.
But
These
this
are
we would
actually
be.
entitlement conditions where code enforcement, if you're not abiding by those, then the county would take action.
And so it's important, while it creates a lot of flexibility, still, whenever anything is changed or deviated from that, there is a time for public input to come in, object or raise their concerns?
There is, Supervisor. The code does allow, and myself or the planning director for the county, it does allow for administrative approvals if it's a change in less than 10%. For example, we have a retirement home facility, and they had a planned development approval for 132 units. And so they've massaged that or changed that, and now they're 128 units. And in essence, it's the same footprint, and there's really no change. I administratively have that authority to make that. But anything greater than a 10%, it's a zoning permit and a public hearing process.
And it has to go through the planning commission and then to us if we get it appealed or something.
A major conditional use, a major change, yes, goes to planning commission. A minor change, which
don't
is,
have to.
it goes to a zoning permit, which is a public hearing, can be appealed to the planning commission and ultimately the board. So there's still that public involvement.
Okay.
That's important. Any other questions? So this is a public hearing. Is there any member of the public wishing to make comment?
My name is Bruce Gray. I'm with an organization called Madera Oversight Coalition. I live on Millstream Lane in eastern Madera County, and I just have a few questions on this. Number one, when they did the plan, it says chapter 18.87 instead of 18.67. 18.87 is the marijuana chapter, so let's hear it for that. To start with, they're changing, it says permitted uses in a planned development district. To me, I read a planned development district. Okay, it's not just a onesie-twosie, it's a district. Matt referenced the Dollar General. That is on a main road, that it would be a planned development district area. A non-planned district area to me would be a 34-unit senior housing complex moving in with a planned development district with a conditional use permit into a rural residential area. So these are the things I'm concerned about. And when you change the classification for this planned development district to a conditional use permit, you have a whole litany of things that can go in this planned district development. My suggestion would be to go back to this planned development district, and instead of putting a conditional use permit on it, evaluate what the developers are doing and put like a conditional use permit, put a list of items that can be generated in that planned development district. Dollar General would be in the planned development district. Okay, and would these 34-unit senior housing be in a planned development district? Yes, but where it would be located, if you use a conditional use permit, there's no telling where you can put it. Okay, it should be in this particular thing, and we are concerned that with a conditional use permit on it, you can basically do anything you want. So we're just trying to take a look at that. That was the one to go back to that. Signs, not worried. And again, Matt was talking about the removing the removal and site development plan and review process. Now, in Eastern Madera County, we have over 20 sites that have been tried to be developed, but fall short, and something happens. Now we have scars all over Eastern Madera County. The latest one that is just up, that's been up for several years now, is on YLP Boulevard, Yosemite Lakes Boulevard, right at 41 and YLB.
Yosemite Springs.
Pardon?
Yosemite Springs.
Yosemite Springs. Okay, Yosemite Springs Parkway, excuse me.
Yeah.
It started, they developed it, insofar as grading it, the whole thing, and it's been sitting for a number of years. I don't know whether they've run out of money, they're changing it, they can't get a gas station to come in, but whatnot. This would have been reviewed, and then, like they're saying with one of the last ones he mentioned, after a 2-year period of being approved, if nothing had happened, it would revert back to the Board of Supervisors, which would reclassify it to take another look at it, see where it's going. So we have questions with just changing this thing to a conditional use permit, which opens up quite a few other things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Are there any other public comment? That I'll call close to the public hearing.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I could just address a couple of the statements and questions on that. So I think the key aspect is in the title section of the ordinance under permitted uses. This change doesn't allow any use ever potentially conceived of by a conditional use permit. The key is it only permits a application for a CUP that's consistent with the underlying general plan of that parcel.
Right.
So this is a rezone application to a planned development district. When we say district, it's a zoning district, like ARE 20, agricultural rural exclusive 20-acre district. It's a designation of a specific parcel's zoning. So it doesn't allow an individual to walk in here and put a gas station mini mart in a planned development that has a residential underlying general plan designation. They'd have to amend that general plan designation. So there has to be that consistency with the end use that's being asked for and the underlying general plan that's the driving document there. It does allow, right, and we often see applications that come in that says, here is our rezoning application and our conditional use permit application and our building footprints, and here's the list of uses that we would like considered by the Planning Commission, so the public understands, right? That's This district is meant, in a lot of cases, to go where you have potential conflicts between residential and commercial, or vice versa. You have a residential multifamily unit proposal adjacent to commercial industrial.
Right.
So it's meant for those situations to look at on a case-by-case and lay out strict requirements, because they can't deviate from that footprint and those list of uses without a whole nother public hearing process where the public can come and provide the input to the decision-making body. So to that extent, the CUP, we handled these, historically, we processed them the same way. We got a site plan review. In reviewing that, right, a site
And
plan
you
review.
do it on every one.
Correct.
Period.
And a site plan review is, in essence, we handled it and processed it just like a conditional use permit in the shop. So we said, we don't even have a site plan review fee structure. We did historically, but in reviewing it and looking at it, we said we should create this consistencies with our ordinance so that it's easy for the public to follow, easy for the staff to follow, of a logical CUP, but remember that it's a rezoning application to plan development, and you can't just go in before the code amendment in 2011. You had the opportunity, a project applicant could come in and say, well, I just want to do a planned development, and to add value to that property. We don't allow that. You have to actually come with a project specific, a building footprint. Here's how much commercial square footage I'm going to build, or here how many units I'm going to do. So I think that clears up a lot of it. I mean, staff is in support. I don't know that Planning Commission had any public commenting on this item before them.
Their only concern was to make sure that the people that had already been approved were protected.
Right.
So basically, you can't rezone with a CUP. You still have to go through that to change anything in the underlying land designation. You still have to go through the same process you would whether it was in a planned development or not. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, and just to really try to hammer in the protection that a planned development provides to the neighborhood is, if you go to a commercial rural median, which is our most prolific commercial zoning, it allows a multitude of uses. And so a property owner today has the right to come in and say, hey, I want to do a CRM zone and my general and a general plan amendment, and they can request that application and it's approved. The public ultimately has no idea other than looking at that zone district and saying, okay, here's all the uses that would permit it, from Walmarts to the gas stations to lumber, sales, propane distribution, right? Here, the public, and that's why it's not utilized often, but it's meant for that area where you have potential conflicts, where they say, no, this is the only thing that can go in here, and any change to that requires another public hearing.
All right, any other questions of staff? Do we have a motion? See one check mark.
Did you close the public hearing?
Yeah, I closed it already.
Oh, you did, okay. Thank you. I move that we approve the item 6A.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
All right, 6B.
6B, Board of Directors, Special Districts, Public Works Department, Administrative Services Division. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution confirming the report and authorizing the Auditor Controller to impose liens for delinquent utility fees and charges upon those parcels within within the county maintenance districts and service areas in accordance with the revised report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Adel Kayat, Public Works Director. With me here is Ms. Andrea Saldate, our Deputy Director of Public Works. This public hearing is to grant us permission to move delinquent amount from our utility bills onto the property taxes for collection in fiscal year 1920. The outstanding amounts proposed to be moved are all from fiscal year 18-19, last fiscal year. The list of delinquencies is roughly 525 accounts that totals $393,327.31.
How much again was that?
393,327.31. This is an annual item to ensure that we collect past due revenues. The public hearing is for anyone to request their delinquencies be removed. And I know we have a couple additions to this public hearing or updates. Andrea?
So we actually have two properties that do need to be removed from the list. One is an unsecured property. We cannot put a delinquent charge on an unsecured property. And then the other is a resident who made a payment late in the day Friday. It just wasn't calculated in yet. So we do need to remove APN 049412008. And we also need to remove APN 860000066.
And we are here for your questions.
All right. Is there any Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, have we ever done this before, like this?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we do this every year.
That's what I thought. Okay.
All right. This is a public hearing. I'll now open the public comment portion of the public hearing.
I'm Cindy Ratzloff, owner of the commercial building 40423 Highway 41, and that APN number is 065-070-011. And I'm not here to dispute that it's owed. And I just came this morning to start a payment plan, and they told me that I couldn't because it was too late. And so I figured I would stay and request that, because that's all the money I have is just for a deposit on the payment plan, because I'm having to do this out of my own pocket since
I think
I had months of non-collecting.
So what we can do with your direction is we can remove her APN from the list. We can go upstairs if she would like to make a payment or get into a repayment plan. We can do that with your direction.
Is there any way, because of the circumstances, not to get penalized for, I think there's a penalty of like 10% on?
Right now, there are no penalty fees.
Okay.
So it's just straight,
Okay.
whatever was owed is what's being rolled.
It's enough to
Then
have
let's
to
waive
pay.
that.
Yeah, let's waive that.
Yeah, it's enough to pay someone else's bill without having to pay penalties on their bill. Okay, thank you.
And you have the APN number for that, the 065070011?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good morning. Tracy Kennedy, Madera County Treasurer, your Madera County Treasurer. I vote for
Really?
the payment plan for that lady too, by the way. One thing that we are working out, just so that everybody knows, is how it affects tax sales. We had an incident last year where these charges were put on tax bills after the property had changed hands. So the new owner ended up with a tax bill that they weren't expecting. We talked to the engineering, Ahmad and Andrea already, about 4 that have exactly the same problem right now. They've all changed hands, these top 4. They were all on the tax sale last year. They were in Maintenance District 1, Hidden Lakes, and they've all changed hands, and they have these delinquent water bills on them from the old owner. So we are trying to hatch a plan so that we capture all the money that the special districts are owed, because, I mean, it's our districts, all of our districts, right? I mean, we're all on the same team. But that best suits the special districts to ensure that they do get their money that is owed from the right place. One of the things that we've spoken about is placing a lien, an actual lien, onto the property to ensure that their liens follow the property.
And they go
Okay?
with the title search that way?
Yes,
Right, I
yes.
think we
So
should
that,
do that.
so that, I mean, there's only like 9 that are on the upcoming tax sale, and some of them will probably redeem anyway.
I was going to say that should be standard, it's a standard part of it, because that's the only way to find it for the title company. They may still be able to get it from the title company. It's possible.
Well, sometimes there are excess proceeds. So the special districts then, they would be in line if there was a lien recorded, not just known about that this is an assessment, but an actual recorded deed, in line for some excess proceeds, which, there's one bill on here for $2,200 that's on the tax sale. So we definitely want to collect that and all that we can.
Yeah, that could hurt that district very bad.
We're still in the public comment portion, so we'll.
Is my 3 minutes up?
No, we can ask these questions after. Their 3 minutes is up. Yours is still good.
Sorry about that.
But anyway, so I just wanted to kind of update on the four, which Andrea and I, we were talking a lot about that in Ahmad, that the four that had sold, but we're trying to make sure that we can plan ahead for any of these parcels that may go through the tax sale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something,
Yeah,
sir?
any other public comment?
Hi there, I'm Michael Bloom.
Michael, you said?
Michael Bloom.
Okay.
I'm at the address 12155 Lauren Way, and I just closed on that house a little over a month ago, and then I get a notice in the mail saying I'm delinquent on a water bill after I just paid an activation fee, and now I'm like, what the heck's going on here? Why am I paying an activation fee for water, and then I get somebody else's bill? So that was all I had to add.
Can you guys enter it?
So the activation fee is a processing fee that we have for new applicants, new property owners. We do have to look through some documents and switch over the account. That's what the $150 application fee, which is credited to the account after a year's worth of good standing. So it's not gone forever, it's just held for you for a year. The reason why there are back charges, most times an escrow company will call us, and we have sent out mailers to every escrow company that we work with saying, these are our APNs. We've given them full list of APNs. If you are doing a deal on any of these APNs, please call us to check water, sewer, and any delinquent utilities. We don't know any different when properties are sold unless an escrow company calls us or a potential buyer will call us and ask us if there's anything outstanding. If we don't hear that, we don't know. The charges stick with the property, and that's the way it's written in code. So that's why there is this delinquent balance. Again, if you would like, we can pull that property from the list and work with him individually to figure out what's going on. Most times you can even contact your escrow company, and depending on how long it's been, they may be able to do something for you as well.
Yes, I've been talking with my realtor to their realtor, and they said they were going to pay it, but, it's been a little over a month since we moved in, and.
So my suggestion would be, with your direction, let's pull that one off.
You got the APN
Yes.
number with you?
I don't know where you see the APN number on here.
It should be on
It
there.
is,
I got my water
It's on
bill, and
there.
I
It would
got
be on
the
there. Show it
notice
to
of
Andrew,
filing
sure.
report delinquent,
So we'll pull that one too.
Yeah, let's pull that one as well.
and I got the deed, that says when I closed in June.
You want to read it off, Andrew?
yeah. So we're gonna remove 049-343-012. That's your APN number.
You
Thank
still
you,
have to
Michael.
work through it to have the previous owner pay that off through escrow. A lot of times they keep some money there in the escrow account until
care of
everything
these
is
things.
taken care of.
Yes, I've been talking, that's what my realtor told me, and I'm wondering what the holdup is
Yeah.
here.
But, yeah.
Because it's saying to
Get
property
on 'em.
owner,
Get on them, buddy. Say, get it
Yeah.
done.
Keep pushing them.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Welcome to the
But
range.
we'll pull it, and it won't be on there.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
No worries.
Thank you, Michael. How you doing?
Good. Hi. Mi nombre es Marino Pacheco.
What's your name?
Marino Pacheco.
Marino Chico.
All right, I'm going to do my best to interpret here, guys. So we have Marino Pacheco here, who has a similar issue as the gentleman that was just here before. He purchased his property in February of this year, and he received a portion of his utility bill that was for the previous owner. So I guess he went upstairs to Public Works, and they said he could come in and ask if he could have the property removed from the list to make other arrangements. He already checked with his title company, though, so I don't know if he'll still, I know you just mentioned that the bill goes with the property, and I explained that to him, but I don't know if you have somebody in your department that could possibly work with him.
For sure.
Yeah,
Again,
we
with your
do.
direction, we can pull him off.
Can you read that number?
The parcel number is 047
047?
030 024.
Okay.
All right.
We'll do it.
Okay, great.
We'll pull that off and help work through that.
Okay, thank you. Want to keep that? De la list?
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll call close to the public comment portion of the public hearing. And
Okay.
I think any motion, do we
I'll
have
make
to
a
include
motion.
the
I wanted to-
APN numbers? Oh, Supervisor Rogers.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to point out that the advent of lien is what creates the problem of, as was asked earlier, why don't we bill the leaseholder? Why don't we bill the person who's, that's the same reason we don't bill renters. It's the property owner who we have the power of lien through the property. Otherwise, we have no power of lien. We have no way to collect the bill. And then it becomes a gift of public funds, and that is not acceptable. We can't do that. So you have to go after the property. It's the same reason code enforcement, when they do their thing, the liens go on the property. The penalties go on the property. So we have to continue that process. I don't see any way around it, because you just can't do it any other way.
Like under a leasehold, like my leases with commercial properties, there's always something in there that says I'm responsible for all the utilities, removing any liens, anything like that.
Right,
But-
and it's tough. It's tough sometimes to be a property owner and leasing it out and having people who are delinquent and all that. But that just goes with the territory. That's part of the process, and people just have to get thicker skin and accept that.
So I would like to make the point that Tracy was talking about missing. The timing of the tax sale and the timing of this process, there is a chunk of time that is missed. And so we will, moving forward, we will be doing this process again for the potential properties that will be up in the tax sale. So
we can
instead of
do it.
doing it
Catch
one
up.
time, exactly. So that way we are able to lien those properties and they will show up when it is time for the tax sale.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think
great
that's
idea. Okay, I move that we approve this and take out those 5 different partial numbers. I think they've all been read off. I can read 3 of them. The first 2 I didn't catch. So.
And then,
I counted,
Okay.
Chairman, members of the board, I counted 6 properties, not
Oh,
5.
is there 6?
oh yeah, there were the ones that
1, 2,
Andrew
3.
had read in.
She brought in 2.
And I got 3.
5. I've got 3 new from right now from public comment, and then the 2 from before, so 5.
Right. There's 5, I think.
Let me
Can I
get on
read the number?
calculator. 3
Can we
plus
read the
2.
numbers off? We can double check them?
Okay, well, the one I got is 049-343-090, 047-030-024, 065-070-011, and then the 2 that Andrea read off.
049-412-008 and 860-000-066. Is that correct?
That is what I
Wasn't there
have.
another one, though?
Yeah, my
There was
notes
a
went all the-
049-343-012?
He had that one. That was for
That was his-
Mr. Bloomer.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, that
you
was
had
his first, so my notes went up, and so I numbered incorrectly, so,
There's 5.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I make the motion to approve the item 6B and removing those 5
Second.
partial numbers.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll get those coordinated so they all go with the other things.
7A,
7A, Board of Directors, Flood Control and Water Conservation Agency. Discussion relating to a preferred funding option.
We're going to take a quick break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For flood control.
It is a lot of sitting, particularly if you drive.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
With this issue that we just had, could the county ordinance require the petrol companies to acquire which is not their You do it all the time. All the time. You make up laws all the time, make up ordinances all the time, do all kinds of shit. What's gonna keep you, what keeps you from doing it? Don't let the issue, don't let the facts get, the issue. I mean, they send out things that they requested, if they don't do it, they don't care, because they're not into it, but all of a sudden they can care.
Right. I'll try it, yeah.
County or the DA go after a couple of these companies. And, you didn't do your due diligence, therefore we're holding you responsible if you don't pay. So we finally got paid with taxes. Can't tell how many times I've read escrow statements and that, and all the time. It's not enough time. I tell people all the time, go back, tell me after Wednesday. Now they do the proration.
Yeah, because they couldn't afford the monthly with the impounds, and then they didn't explain to them exactly what was necessary, because they were trying to close them
Sitting there
up.
listening to all that.
And that's where they didn't communicate what the
Make them prove it.
All right. All right, we're back now from a short break and,
Flood break.
yeah, a flood control break. Item 7A. Is that mic on?
I can't hear you.
There you go.
Good morning.
That's better, yeah.
Stephanie and Agneson, Director of Water and Natural Resources. We presented a month ago and said we would come back with the results of our outreach regarding the flood control potential assessment. So I'm going to summarize the results. I'm also with Dario Dominguez, our engineer, Kim Floyd, who does public outreach for flood assessments, and Scott Brown, who is an engineer with Larson Wurzel. And Kim and Scott make up a team that's had 10 successful flood control assessments. So we are very lucky to have them with us, and we are also taking their input and their advice very seriously. So in terms of public outreach, we've done a ton in the past month. Kim has met with the management for Madera Irrigation District. We also met with Madera Irrigation District's board and did a presentation. We met with management at the City of Madera. Last week, we did a presentation to Chowchilla Water District. We met in Oakhurst, and we had stakeholders from North Fork, O'Neill's, Coarse Gold, Bass Lake that Supervisor Wheeler put together. We've also met with key individuals, as well as having a couple upcoming meetings with the Farm Bureau. And I also spoke at MAWA more than a month ago about this, and we'll speak there again. So we've done a ton of outreach all in the last month. What we've heard is basically three different messages. One is they're very not aware of the agency and the work that it does. The one thing that does register, Supervisor Rogers, you'll like this, is the Arundo removal. People do remember that Arundo was removed, but now it's grown back, right? So they're frustrated about that. There's a lot of potential for flooding not being a high-risk activity. There's not a sense that there's property values that will suffer, or that there's the risk to lives. And then the third thing is we at, I think, all of those meetings heard some mistrust in terms of governance and some, how do we know that if you assess us this fee, you'll use the fee in that way? So those were the key messages that we heard pretty consistently over and over. So we also, based on what we were hearing in the last meeting with you, as well as with stakeholders, have some tweaks to the methodology. And Scott's going to go over those briefly, and then I'll come back with some recommendations.
Yes, good morning. Scott Brown, Larson Wurzel Associates. In talking with folks, it's very important we help to understand where they see benefit for services provided and craft a methodology around that benefit that people understand, that can inform them to make a decision. They still can vote yes or no, but at least define a methodology that helps them make an informed decision. One of the things we heard that it was difficult to separate a flood benefit from a drainage benefit. That was clear in discussions with the ties with Sigma, and we're trying to store water, and we're not allowed to allow water to run off of our land. And so we've eliminated that split in the methodology of two different benefits associated with those services. It will be a combined, we're moving towards a combined benefit of flood protection and conveyance as one component. The other comment that has come up has to do with risk of flooding that's associated with a proximity to the creek or the slough. We're working through how we might do that in an efficient manner that allows the administration of the assessment moving forward easy for staff to administer. We certainly don't want to be calculating feet from the creek on a parcel by parcel basis, and then when it splits, you've got to go back through and recalculate. We're trying to come up with a sensible approach, so we're still working through that concept. Boundaries of the district, following our meeting, Supervisor Wheeler's group in the foothills, that area has been removed, Zone 4 has been removed. The services and the benefits that we were discussing, I don't want to put words in your group's mouths, but I believe that it wasn't of the highest and important focus for that area. There are other targets, if you will, for use of funds from those communities. So we will be going back and reviewing the budget, removing services and budgets that were planned for Zone 4 that will come out. As far as the boundaries go for Zones 2 and 3, we talked about an arbitrary sort of boundary right now following Highway 99 because it was easy to draw on a map and get some preliminary testing done. We're going to be looking at that closer to where is the flood risk between those two zones. And then lastly, we heard from individual landowners that rangeland is different than ag and open space and should be treated separately. So we're adding that, and we'll be considering that separately. And that is kind of where we are right now. We've put things on pause while we finish our stakeholder outreach. And unless there are any questions from me specifically on this, I'll turn it back over to Stephanie.
You're revising your charts?
The charts have been turned upside down and put on the desk, yes. And we'll revisit those once we finish our outreach and redo the methodology.
Yeah, the budget's been changed.
The budget is, it hasn't been, we're looking at it, hasn't been officially changed. We still have the exclusion of Zone 4 and the foothills will have an impact on what we're including. And we need to go back and retool it.
I think probably that's wise at this point because it would have created a failure of the 218.
That's what we talked about too.
Yeah.
So one more slide. So these are our recommendations, and building on what you just said, Supervisor Rogers, the balloting process is expensive, right? So if we do ballot, we would like to be successful.
Exactly.
So our recommendations are that we establish a work group and we bring in the folks who object the most and we put them in a group together and work through a bunch of issues. One of them is, what would state control of the agency look like? How much would that cost? We can line that up with our cost because that is what we're looking at if this isn't successful. So let's be really blunt. Let's talk through what the desired levels of service are. We presented 3 budgets, I think, last month. There is a bare bones model, but I'm not sure that will get us back in compliance and within the PL 8499. So I think we need to talk through that with the work group. We need to talk through the benefits themselves, refine the methodology. And then the last one we've tried to stay away from, but I think we're going to have to go there, which is to say the flood control agency is really the foundation of a lot of our work in Sigma. This is, if our strategy as a county is let's bring in as much water as we can, there are flood flows going to waste. Those flood flows are using the flood control agency, right? There's a cost associated with that. But making that nexus to people, especially those in irrigation districts, has been tough. So we need to really drill down and figure out what's going on in that. So this is the point where we can take your questions. We would like to do that work group though, and we would like it if everybody could nominate someone to be on it too, if that's all right.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for coming up there. What do we have, about 15 people up there? Yeah, so Bob and I went and tried to get everybody, we thought, from all the different communities. We had from North Fork to O'Neill's, clear down to Coast Code, so, and one from Raymond, so it was good. And the state's going to do this one way or another, right, on our levies and all that stuff. I mean, there's got to be some kind of a plan that we have for them.
Well, so if we can fund it locally, the state will not come in.
If we do it, yeah, if we get our
If we can do a 218.
stuff together.
Yes, if we get our stuff together, the state will not come in.
I'm so proud of you.
And so I think it's really important, and I like the idea of having a committee, and I don't mind putting one on from up in the mountain just to keep informed. And the reason that we really think that there's not, we have a couple areas that it floods every year almost, like in North Fork and a little bit over in Oakhurst, but it, compared to what we want to do with that fuel reduction district we want to try to form up there, which won't bother you guys, but it's really important for us up there for the private landowners, just like this is really important for the landowners down here. It's just
Different issues.
it's different issue, but it's the same type of issues that we've got to cover. And so I think that that's the reason and I'm happy you took us out of that, because I think we got more important things to do. Have we hired a consultant firm on that yet? Or?
We can't talk about that right now.
I know, I just asked him to see. Okay, because we passed it, so.
Yeah.
And great job. Thank you for the team coming up there.
You took yours off, David? Okay, this was just kind of a strange thing. I think this is like when Alexa and your phone listens into you. I had an Apple News update yesterday about levies in the Midwest and kind of how they were tackling that issue, and it was on, I think, NBCnews.com. But they have a lot of where these, and they had some major flooding this year, a lot of issues where the levees had broken, and there's not a lot of people to do the work, but they've worked with the farmers in the local area that have the equipment and those farmers are subcontracting with the contractors, so it takes away a lot of the
bureaucracy.
Well, having to bring what is it? Staging, bringing the
staging
equipment
areas.
out, which is a major cost, but with the farm equipment that's there, and they're working at like an hourly rate, and it's saving a lot of money for the project. But looking at something like that where we utilize the know-how of our local farmers that are affected by this with their equipment that they have as part of that solution. Again, this is the first time I've ever been happy that Alexa listens into all of my conversations, and because Wyatt came up on mine from, on the Missouri River. It doesn't make any sense, but I think if we can bring something in like that as a way, when it puts their equipment to use, there is some benefit to them to be able to do that work, and it would be ultimately less expensive for the levee district and the flood control district.
Plus, they have an understanding of what's going on when those things are full.
Mhm.
They've seen it, they watch it. That's
worked
where the
it.
phone calls come from.
Yeah.
I mean, they get it.
And I think Scott's original report did mention some way of giving credit to farmers who were doing that work. So I think Russell Harris does a fair amount of that work. We would, of course, want to make sure that they are following all of the rules that would
Right.
exist with going into.
So we do them on Saturdays, you don't have to worry about that.
I just sent you that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, real quick, Brett, if you don't mind, you guys told us all of our, I think, Dario, all of our levies right now are decertified, right? So I think that people ought to know that all of our levies in Madera County are not up to standard, they're decertified. So we can't even get insurance for those guys to cover because they are decertified. So I think that's really important that we tell the people that.
Yes, all of the levies are decertified, and we are no longer in what's called PL 8499, which means that if there is flooding, we cannot get the Army Corps to come here and help. These are the folks who engineered the levees.
And I seriously wonder about the
I think
ability, I'm sorry.
Supervisor Poitras, and then
Punch your hole, man.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I just want to let you know that I think it's super important, and I'm really glad to see that you're going to draw the nexus to Sigma, because especially for those wide area growers, they're looking everywhere in any fashion how they can add to the, as far as recharge and add to the aquifer and all that. So I think that that is, that's paramount, and I'm glad you've got that on there. And then just real simple, practical thing, can you shoot out an email reminding us to find somebody to sit on the working group?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be good if you did, so.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, going back to state involvement, I think is just unacceptable, because when the state's involved, you lose your freedoms, you lose your ability to utilize that water in the way you know is best.
Yes, we would, I mean, most importantly, under Sigma, you would lose the ability to control costs.
Yes, exactly.
The costs
Damn
could
sure.
be much more,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and we have a lot of costs that are going to increase under Sigma. I'd rather
They'll
people
create
could
a
buy
whole
water.
bureaucracy that's not there, and
Right.
we have to pay for it.
Yes, it
And
literally
then,
is doing that.
you know, another thing I thought about when you were talking about the levees being decertified is the ability to build and lending practices in those regions.
Yeah, you can't get loans.
I don't think you can get a loan on a piece of property that's in a floodplain on a decertified levee.
Might be pretty hard if the escrow company found out about it.
And I don't think that's.
Yeah, I would imagine, again, in that article that I read, you know, there was a guy that had 2,500 acres, and of those 2,500 acres, he was gonna be able to farm about 310 of that. So if you're
Jeez.
looking at that kind of levy break,
Yeah.
lending institution's not going to lend on that.
So I think there's a public information component to this that would include to the owners in areas that are in those floodplains, especially, they need to be notified and let know, you know, you're compromising the value of your land. And utility is what creates the value of land to begin with. And if it can't be lent on and or insured, which try insuring it under those circumstances, that's not going to be very good either. So there's multiple components: the Sigma factor, the utility and value factor, and of course the flood control factor as well.
Yeah, in regards to the Sigma factor, while this is, you know, this is a big ticket to be able to repair and recertify all these levees, but it's much cheaper than us building brand new conveyance, right? This allows for, this is the quickest way for us to have some control over our conveyance with any matter of.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
so
it's increasing water supply reliability.
Yeah, I think that is part of that outreach, showing that, you know, maybe don't look at it as fixing these levees, but as a less expensive solution to conveyance to your areas.
Perennial groundwater recharge, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody else read any interesting articles they want to talk about?
I think it's important that we do keep it in layman's terms in many respects. That's an important component, because a lot of people don't understand groundwater recharge. They say, what's that? You know, they may not even understand what decertified levies means.
Yeah, I think it's the WIFM, what's in it for me, versus what's being done to me. I think is
Right.
the nexus we need to make.
Good job.
All right.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. It's a discussion. Do we need any further, do we have good direction?
So I will send an email asking for people to join the working group, for you to nominate people, and then we'll come back with reports from the working group in a month or two, probably 2.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there any pending legislation?
Yeah, I think we ought to.
All right, there's no pending legislation. Supervisor and staff reports, I'll start to my right.
I have nothing to report.
I attended RCRC last week, and by the way, they continue to work. They have a meeting with the
insurance commissioner on the problem of insurance in the hills. So that's a big deal, and there are several supervisors working on that working group from RCRC, so it's a big deal.
So Bob, you can tell our favorite person about that. I don't think we do nothing. I just, again, I have a town hall Thursday night in Bass Lake, and I want to thank all of you. And I think that the report I'd like to have is when we get that going up there at Oakhurst, our new office up there, you know, for the permits and social service and all that, we're going to have a room in there to have meetings, you know?
Yes.
And I was just wondering, you know, we used to broadcast out live on our board meetings and stuff. They used to do it at the junior college, and I know we haven't done that for years. I just wonder if we could set up a video screen in that new office where that room is, and we could actually have public come and they can actually make comments there. And I mean, we're going to do it, we're going to be doing that work there. I think it'd be a good time to take advantage of that. It's going to be there for many years, and it'll help some of these people that can't drive down here. So.
And then I attended the EDC as well as the Workforce Development Board. We were putting together our strategic plan. It was a very engaged meeting. I think I'll be having the executive director, Tracy Scott Contreras, come and give an update of what our strategic plan is for our workforce development. Also, I have my coffee and conversation tomorrow at 8:30 at Rancho's Cafe. CAO?
Nothing to report.
Oh, Supervisor Poitras?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, yeah, thank you. Just want to give kudos to Tristan, our grants guy, who successfully, well, he submitted the Prop 68 grant funds for funding courthouse park improvements, and we'll find out in January 2020, but knowing his level of expertise and his track record, I'm favorably optimistic.
Yep, great. Madam Clerk? All right, with that, I will adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting is September 3rd here. The next on-the-road meeting is September 10th up in Oakhurst.
Hey! Live video.